From a brother who drained bodies like artwork to a motivational speaker orchestrating gang rape, these villains carry the DNA of America's most disturbing killers. In this video, we're breaking down how 8 of Dexter's main antagonists mirror the methods, motives, and madness of real serial killers who actually existed. Some connections are uncomfortably close. First up, we have Brian Moser. The ice truck killer meets the torso killer. Brian Moser dismembered prostitutes with surgical precision, drained their blood completely, and arranged body parts as messages for his brother Dexter. Season 1 introduced Brian as Rudy Cooper, a prosthetist dating Deborah Morgan. His kills followed a specific pattern: abduct prostitutes, exsanguinate them in refrigerated spaces, dismember with medical accuracy, and display the parts publicly. He kept victim Tony Tucci alive while systematically amputating his left arm and right leg to send Dexter clues. Brian's signature involved posing bodies and painting the nails of severed limbs. His final tableau recreated the shipping container where his mother died, with Deborah as the intended victim. Brian operated with 2 goals: perfect the kill and communicate with Dexter. Every crime scene was a breadcrumb. The blood drainage was aesthetic control, turning murder into museum pieces. He targeted society's invisible women, people whose disappearance wouldn't trigger media investigations. The ice truck killer represented what Dexter could become without Harry's code: artistic, theatrical, completely unrestrained. Now let's talk about the real-life match, Richard Cottingham. Richard Cottingham, known as the Torso Killer, dismembered victims and staged crime scenes that directly parallel Brian Moser's methods. Between 1967 and 1980, Cottingham murdered at least 11 women in New York and New Jersey. In December of 1979, he checked into Travel Inn Motor Hotel in Times Square with 2 victims. Firefighters responded to smoke, discovering the women's torsos on bed, heads and hand removed, bodies positioned deliberately. He targeted sex workers, knowing that their deaths would receive less police attention. When arrested in May of 1980, investigators found his trophy room containing jewelry from victims. Cunningham worked as a computer operator, maintaining a normal family life while committing increasingly theatrical murders. Cunningham's methodology matches Brian's core technique: both dismembered with precision, both positioned body parts intentionally, and both targeted prostitutes. Both also maintained double lives. The key difference is simple: Cunningham's motivation was sexual sadism and control, while Brian stemmed from family trauma and the desire to reconnect with Dexter. But before we see how a toxic relationship turned deadly, if you're finding these comparisons fascinating, hit that subscribe button, because the connection between Dexter's Season 2 villain and a killer from Arizona is absolutely chilling. Lila West. When fatal attraction becomes fatal reality. Lila West posed as a recovering addict and Narcotics Anonymous sponsor, then used arson and obsession to control Dexter Morgan, ultimately setting the fire that killed Sergeant Dokes. Lila entered Dexter's life in Season 2 as his NA sponsor. She recognized his emotional mask immediately and became fixated on exposing his true self. When Dexter tried ending their affair, Lila burned her own apartment for sympathy. She seduced Detective Batista, then falsely accused him of rape when he rejected her. After discovering Dokes imprisoned in Dexter's cabin, she ignited propane tanks. The resulting explosion killed Dokes and allowed him to be framed as the Bay Harbor Butcher. Her background revealed that she had previously burned her ex-boyfriend Marco's house with him inside. Her final act was kidnapping Astor and Cody, locking them in her loft and setting it ablaze. Lila weaponized intimacy. Fire became her signature tool, serving multiple purposes: destruction of evidence, cry for attention, ultimate control, and literal cleansing. Unlike most Dexter villains who were serial killers, Lila was a serial arsonist who escalated a murder when her obsession demanded it. Now, the real-life match, Jodi Arias. Jodi Arias murdered her ex-boyfriend Travis Alexander in a crime that combined obsessive love, boundary violations, and brutal violence. Arias met Alexander in 2006. After Alexander ended things in 2008, Arias refused to accept the breakup. She hacked his Facebook, accessed his voicemail, and followed his movements. On June 4th of 2008, Arias drove from California to Arizona, entering Alexander's home uninvited. She attacked him in the shower, stabbing him 27 times, slashing his throat, and shooting him in the head. Initially, Arias claimed that intruders committed the murder. Then she changed her stories, admitting she killed Alexander while claiming self-defense. Her trial revealed that she moved across the country to be near Alexander, converted to his religion, and created elaborate justifications for her presence in his life. Arias shares Lila's core psychology. Both became obsessed with men who tried establishing boundaries. Both refused to accept rejection. Both demonstrated extreme manipulation, changing stories as needed, and both escalated from stalking to murder when control slipped away. Neither woman killed for pleasure, like traditional serial killers. They tried to eliminate obstacles to their obsession. The next villain took the concept of vigilante and twisted it into something even Dexter couldn't stomach, and the real-life cop who inspired him claimed that he was cleaning the streets. Talking about Miguel Prado, the district attorney's dark double. Assistant District Attorney Miguel Prado manipulated Dexter's code to justify killing anyone he considered a problem, including innocent attorney Ellen Wolf. Season 3 introduced Miguel after Dexter accidentally killed his brother, Oscar. Miguel discovered Dexter's secret after witnessing him kill drug dealer Freebo. Rather than report it, Miguel wanted in. The first joint kill was murderer Billy Fleeter, someone who fit the code. Then Miguel went rogue. He murdered defense attorney Ellen Wolf, who was investigating his prosecutorial misconduct. When Dexter confronted him, Miguel justified it. Wolf let criminals go free, therefore she deserved death. When Miguel targeted Lieutenant LaGuerta, Dexter killed him and framed the murder on another killer. Miguel represented the corruption of Dexter's mission. He understood the code intellectually while twisting it emotionally. To Miguel, the code wasn't just about protecting innocence. It was about eliminating inconveniences behind a moral justification. The partnership showed how quickly righteous killing becomes tyranny when the killer gets to define justice. Now let's talk about the real-life match. Manuel Prado Jr. Ex-cop Manuel Prado murdered 9 people while claiming he was cleaning the streets of criminals, maintaining he deserved a medal, not prison. Prado worked for the Florida Highway Patrol before becoming a Miami police officer. He was fired in 1979 for brutality. Between April 1986 and July 1986, Prado murdered 9 people he identified as drug dealers or career criminals. He shot victims execution style, often robbing them afterward. Prado kept a diary writing, "I am a soldier. I am doing the right thing." When arrested, police found that he'd stolen over $100,000 from victims. During trial, Prado showed no remorse, instead arguing that Miami should thank him for his vigilante actions. He was convicted and executed in 2012. Prado and Miguel share this same core delusion, self-appointed arbiter of justice. Both held positions of legal authority before deciding the system was too slow. Both targeted people they viewed as corrupting society. Both stole from victims, revealing the real motivation beneath righteous talk. Both demonstrated how quickly cleaning the streets rhetoric became cover for murder. But if you think a corrupt prosecutor is bad, why don't you see the family man who perfected hiding in plain sight for 30 years? Arthur Mitchell, Trinity's terrifying template. Arthur Mitchell lived as a respected church deacon and charity builder while cycling through ritualistic murders that recreated his family's death. Season 4's Trinity Killer followed a 4-part murder cycle. First, he buried a young boy alive in cement. Second, he forced a mother to jump from a building. Third, he'd murder a young woman in a bathtub by severing her femoral artery. And fourth, he bludgeoned a father to death with a hammer. Arthur maintained this cycle for over 30 years, killing in different cities to avoid detection. To the public, he was a pillar of his community, married with children, active in his church, running the 4 Walls, 1 Heart charity that built homes. Behind closed doors, he was a tyrant who beat his son, controlled his wife, and had been abusing his daughter. Trinity perfected the art of compartmentalization. His ritualistic cycle was therapy through murder, endlessly reenacting his traumatic childhood without ever processing it. Arthur demonstrated how long a serial killer can operate when nobody suspects the nice man building houses for the poor. The real-life match is Dennis Rader, aka the BTK Killer. Dennis Rader, the BTK Killer, maintained a 30-year killing career while serving as a church council president and family man in Wichita, Kansas. Rader murdered 10 people between 1974 and 1991. His self-given name, BTK, stood for Bind, Torture, Kill. He would break into homes, tie up victims, torture them, then strangle them. Between kills, Rader lived normally, married with 2 children, worked for ADT Security Services, and served as president of his Lutheran Church Council. He was a Cub Scout leader. Rader stopped killing in 1991, not because he was caught, simply because family obligations left no time. His arrogance led to his capture in 2005 when he sent a floppy disk that contained metadata linking to his church. Rader is the confirmed inspiration for Arthur Mitchell. Dexter showrunner Clyde Phillips had explicitly stated that John Lithgow's portrayal was directly inspired by BTK. Both were pillars of their religious communities. Both had families who didn't suspect. Both maintained meticulous rituals. Both proved that serial killers don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like the man organizing the church potluck. If a lone killer hiding behind community respect is terrifying, imagine a group that recorded everything and called it motivation. Jordan Chase, the motivational monster. Jordan Chase, born Eugene Greer, led the Barrel Girl gang in raping and torturing over a dozen women while building a career as best-selling self-help guru. Season 5 revealed Chase's origin at a summer camp where a teenager Eugene convinced 4 friends to gang rape camp counselor Emily Birch. Eugene directed without touching victims, instead filming and encouraging others to take it. This became their pattern for 20 years. They'd abduct blonde women, torture and rape them for days while Jordan recorded everything, then have Boyd kill them and dispose of their bodies in barrels of formaldehyde. Jordan's career as a motivational speaker with his "take it" philosophy was deeply ironic. He spoke about seizing opportunities while orchestrating horrific crimes. Jordan represented evil as a collective enterprise. He never personally raped or killed, maintaining plausible deniability while directing atrocities. His motivational speaking career was both cover and genuine belief. Jordan's scariest quality was his ability to inspire loyalty. These men stayed committed to their crimes for decades because Jordan made them believe they deserved to act on their darkest impulses. The real-life match, Paul Bernardo. Paul Bernardo, along with Karla Homolka, abducted, raped, and murdered teenage girls while videotaping the assaults in Ontario, Canada. Bernardo began as the Scarborough Rapist, committing over a dozen rapes between 1987 and 1990. After marrying Homolka in 1991, their crimes escalated to murder. They drugged and sexually assaulted Homolka's younger sister Tammy, who died from the drugs in December of 1990. In June of 1991, they kidnapped 14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey, held her captive, repeatedly raped her on video, then killed her. In April 1992, they abducted 15-year-old Kristen French, keeping her for 3 days while torturing and raping her on tape. Bernardo was convicted in 1995 and declared a dangerous offender. Homolka received a controversial plea deal and served only 12 years in prison, being released in 2005. Bernardo lined up closely with Jordan Chase in key ways. Both were charismatic leaders who orchestrated assaults rather than acting alone. Both videotaped their crimes. Both chose young, vulnerable victims. Both maintained respectable public personas while committing atrocities in private. The psychology matched: the need to record, the escalation from assault to murder, and the ability to compartmentalize. If organized evil disguised as self-help seemed disturbing, the next killer believed God personally chose him to bring the apocalypse, and the real serial killer who inspired him left pentagrams at every scene. Travis Marshall, When Apocalypse Becomes Murder. Travis Marshall killed an elaborate biblical tableau, believing he was bringing about the end of days through murders based on the Book of Revelation. Season 6 introduced Travis as a conservator at the Miami Cultural Center. He appeared to be working with Professor James Giller. Together, they created Doomsday Tableau, the Four Horsemen, the Whore of Babylon, and the Angel of Death. Mid-season revealed that Giller was dead, had been for years. Travis had killed his professor and created a hallucination to justify his murders. Without his imagined mentor, Travis's mental illness became clear. He suffered delusions of grandeur, believing God chose him to trigger the apocalypse. Travis demonstrated how religious delusion can fuel serial murder. His tableau were art projects with bodies. The hallucinated Giller represented Travis's fractured psyche, the part of him that needed permission to kill. His victims were props in his apocalyptic narrative, not people. The real-life match, Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, committed murders he connected to satanic worship and apocalyptic beliefs, declaring himself a servant of darkness. Ramirez was convicted of 13 murders between 1984 and 1985 in California. His crimes were brutal and varied. He shot, stabbed, bludgeoned, and strangled victims. He'd break into homes at night, attack occupants, and sometimes sexually assault survivors. Ramirez left satanic symbols at crime scenes, drawing pentagrams and declaring "Hail Satan" during attacks. During his trial, he displayed a pentagram on his palm and said, "Evil has a face. You're looking at it." He showed no remorse, instead reveling in media attention. Ramirez and Travis shared the apocalyptic mindset. Both believed that their murders served a higher purpose. Both used religious symbolism in their crimes. Travis thought he was bringing God's judgment. Ramirez thought that he was serving Satan. Both proved that when someone truly believes they're acting on cosmic authority, human life becomes meaningless. The next killer operated with cold professionalism, and the love that drove him made it almost sympathetic. Almost. Isaac Serko, the hitman with a heart. Ukrainian mob boss Isaac Serko came to Miami seeking revenge for his secret lover's death, proving that even professional killers can be destroyed by grief. Season 7's Isaac Serko was a high-ranking leader in the Koshka Brotherhood. When Dexter killed Viktor Bashkov, he unknowingly murdered Isaac's romantic partner. Isaac had kept the relationship secret. Homosexuality and the mafia don't mix. He traveled from Ukraine to Miami personally because this was personal. Isaac survived a bar ambush by Colombian gunmen, killed them all, and barely showed any emotion. When the Koshka Brotherhood turned on Isaac for letting his vendetta interfere with business, Dexter and Isaac temporarily allied. When the Koshka Brotherhood sent a hitman who fatally shot Isaac on a boat, he and Dexter shared a final conversation about love and loss. Isaac died content, saying that loving Victor was worth it. Isaac broke the Dexter villain mold. He wasn't a serial killer. He was a professional assassin with a code as rigid as Dexter's. What made Isaac compelling was his humanity beneath the monster. He loved deeply, felt grief genuinely, and faced death with acceptance. Let's talk about the real-life match, Richard Kuklinski. Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman, worked as a contract killer while maintaining a family life in suburban New Jersey. Kuklinski worked as a hitman for various crime families from the 1960s through the 1980s. He killed for money, using guns, knives, cyanide, and even freezing bodies to obscure time of death, hence the name Iceman. He claimed over 100 murders in interviews, though prosecutors confirmed far fewer actual cases. Kuklinski lived in Dumont, New Jersey, with his wife and children. He described him as a good provider and loving father. He returned home, eat dinner with his family, help with homework, and never mentioned the man he killed that afternoon. Kuklinski was arrested in 1986 after an undercover operation. Kuklinski and Isaac shared the same professional killer profile. Both compartmentalized violence from the rest of life. Both demonstrated that hitmen aren't motiveless psychopaths. They're businessmen who happen to kill. Both maintain relationships despite their work. Neither man killed for pleasure. They killed because it was their job. What do you think of these comparisons? Which fictional villain matched their real-life counterpart most closely? Drop your answer in the comments below. Next up is Oliver Saxon, the brain surgeon's brutal calculus. Oliver Saxon removed pieces of victims' brains, targeting the anterior insular cortex that controls empathy, and a twisted message to his psychologist's mother. Season 8's Oliver Saxon was revealed as Daniel Vogel, the son of Dr. Elvin Vogel. As a child, Daniel killed his younger brother out of jealousy. Evelyn had Daniel committed, and he supposedly died in an institution fire. He faked his death, took the identity of a dead man, and returned to Miami. His kills involved shooting victims, then surgically removing brain sections controlling empathy. He sent pieces to his mother as messages. When his mother chose Dexter over him, Saxon slit her throat in front of Dexter. He later shot Deborah, leading to her brain death. Saxon's final act was smiling as Dexter stabbed him in police custody. Saxon is Dexter without any humanity. He was clinical, calculating, and completely empty. His brain-removing signature was deeply personal. He targeted the exact area his mother studied, the part of the brain that makes someone human. Saxon killed his mother not out of rage, but out of cold logic. She'd chosen Dexter, so she was useless to him. His murder of Deborah accomplished two goals: hurt Dexter and eliminate the person who might stop him. Saxon was what Dexter feared becoming, a killer motivated purely by revenge and ego, with no code constraining him. Now, the real-life match, Edmund Kemper. Edmund Kemper killed 10 people, including his mother, demonstrating both exceptional intelligence and complete detachment from empathy. Kemper murdered his grandparents at age 15, claiming he wanted to see what it felt like. Released from a psychiatric hospital at 21, he killed 6 female hitchhikers between 1972 and 1973 in California. He'd bring bodies back to his apartment, dismembered them, and kept body parts. Kemper stood 6'9" with genius-level IQ. In April 1973, Kemper beat his mother to death with a hammer, decapitated her, and used her head for sexual purposes. He then killed his mother's best friend. Kemper called police to confess, and they initially didn't believe him. During interviews, he calmly discussed his crimes with exceptional detail and insight. Kemper matches Saxon through their mother and son pathology. Both killed their mothers as culminating acts. Both possessed high intelligence and used it to avoid capture. Both dissected victims with disturbing precision. Both understood human psychology intellectually while being unable to feel empathy. Kemper proved that monsters can be polite, articulate, and self-aware. Arthur Mitchell was BTK in a different suit. Jordan Chase was Paul Bernardo with a TED Talk. Travis Marshall was Richard Ramirez if he had read more theology. These were deliberate echoes of real monsters. The pattern revealed something uncomfortable. The villains Dexter hunted weren't that far from reality. Brian Moser's precision matched Richard Cottingham's. Miguel Prado's self-righteousness matched Manuel Prado's. Isaac Serco's professionalism matched Richard Kuklinski's. Lila's West obsession matched Jodi Arias's. Oliver Saxon's clinical detachment matched Edmund Kemper's. Ellie Villain brought something real to the table. Cottingham proved that dismemberment can be art to a killer. Arias proved that love can turn lethal when rejected. Prado proved that badges don't prevent murder. Sometimes they enable it. Ryder proved that 30 years of hiding works when everyone thinks you're normal. Bernardo proved that evil loves company and likes to film. Ramirez proved that apocalyptic beliefs can justify anything. Kuklinski proved that hitmen go home to families. Kemper proved that genius and monster aren't mutually exclusive. Here's what Dexter got right. These killers existed. They walked among normal people. They had jobs, families, friends, and they seemed unremarkable until the mask dropped. The show dramatized their methods, tightened their patterns, and gave them narrative arcs. The core truth remained though. Humans capable of these acts exist. They're not supernatural. They're not rare. They're just better at hiding than most. The scary part isn't that Dexter faced fictional monsters. It's that every monster he faced had already walked American streets. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on, and don't forget to check out our video on why Book Dexter vs. TV Dexter isn't even close.